So as we all expected, the leaks this week were going to be extremely spicy considering the development of things currently in the manga, and Atsushi on Twitter graciously gave us a summary of, I guess, mostly of everything that's going on in the chapter. The title of this chapter is Thank You for Being Fine, and the chapter starts with the image of little Toya standing. The narration said that Toya died inside a SHOTO dake, which is probably some kind of fireplace room that Endeavor used to train with his firepower, with the temperature reaching 2060 Celsius, which is like around 3,700 Fahrenheit. It is implied that Endeavor wasn't there with him when it happened, and the only thing they found was a piece of a lower jawbone. So that's finally giving us some insight into the death of Toya. So it does seem like this was like an isolated incident, and maybe Dabi didn't die in that hero training program. So maybe this did happen outside of that, you know, while he was still, I don't know, around the tutelage of Endeavor. Obviously Endeavor was there as it stated. But the next scene shows Enji and Toya in a training room. Enji noticed some part of Toya's hair turned white. Toya didn't take it seriously by saying, "No way, I'm a grandpa," and told Enji to move on and teach him the ultimate move. So the white hair is either, I don't know, Rei's regressive genes kicking in or something like that, or it's turning white from the intense stress that Endeavor is putting on him. I mean, that's most likely, but it could be either or it's just Horikoshi trying to fix the possible mistakes made by Bones with the anime, maybe. And as for teaching him the ultimate move, it's definitely the prominence burn, which we'll see later on in this chapter, and I'll get to that. But I assume that's what led to the whole death incident, was Toya maybe trying to practice the prominence burn, but it just got out of control and it reached, you know, 3,700 degrees, which is like way hotter than lava, because I think lava is only like 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Toya was described as someone with firepower more than Enji. Even though he didn't possess ice power to neutralize the overheat, Enji still wants to raise him as a hero. He still wants half cold, half hot quirk. And Rei proposed to have another child because with siblings, they could support each other, and so Fuyumi was born. So that's interesting. I just assumed that right off the bat, Endeavor was going to try to keep making kids until he got that quirk, but it seems like maybe he was just going to settle on Toya because he was so outrageously powerful. Like, obviously it's stated that his cremation quirk, or whatever it truly is more powerful than Endeavor's. But also Rei, you know, proposing this is probably because obviously she realized how hard Endeavor was going on Toya, and maybe she thought that, you know, him having siblings, you know, also kind of friends by proxy, would help him better with his development in life, possibly. Even with both children not having the quirk he wants, at that time he was okay with it because Toya was a bigger talent than he is already. So he pours his ambition into Toya with hope that Toya would crush all of the jealousy, hatred, and regrets. So yeah, that's going back to Toya. Definitely did have more talent, I suppose, than Endeavor, at least with the quirk. Physically, definitely doesn't. I guess that goes into him receiving all those serious burns as a child. Really inhibited his physical potential, I suppose. I guess we'll never know that he could have turned out to be the crazy muscle-bound freak that Endeavor is and has like superhuman strength the way that he does. But I guess this more or less confirms that, you know, his cremation quirk is technically better than Endeavor's, even though he doesn't have like a mastery over it the way that Endeavor does, I suppose. And I guess it was always kind of implied that this was the case because going back to the Pro Hero arc when Endeavor is talking to Natsuo, he kind of implies it then, you know, regarding Toya's quirk. Back to the war scene, Endeavor still didn't believe what Dabi said, but Dabi challenged him on a DNA test. The League of Villains, who heard the whole thing, was also shocked, telling Dabi it is the first time they hear it. In the broadcast, he showed a DNA test result from the blood he got from Endeavor in Kyushu encounter with a 99.99% match. So, wow, Dabi came prepared. I mean, it's understandable because he was thinking about this for years and years and years. This was like the only thing that was driving him in his life. So, totally makes sense that he would come prepared with the receipts, because this is pretty fascinating that he's like, oh, I expected that you wouldn't believe me, even though I have the same eyes as you, I have the same hair as Toya, and I have the fire quirk. But if you wanted a little extra confirmation there, I got the receipts here, and yeah, you're my dad. In the broadcast, he also explained his point of view towards Endeavor, the way Endeavor was excited for his masterpiece, Shoto's birth, and saying that Endeavor never thought about anyone else but himself, and he asked the public if such a person is worthy of having the #1 hero title. Natsuo is watching the broadcast and Fuyumi is in the classroom, but it is shown a school staff was calling her. So yeah, we talked about this in the previous chapter. Natsuo and Fuyumi are clearly going to have to see this, and they do in the follow-up chapter. So I'm curious to see what Natsuo's reaction is going to be to Dabi, because he would always go to Natsuo in like distress over, you know, all of the training and everything that Endeavor did to him, and be like, why am I existing? Why am I alive? And all of this stuff. And that also revealed why Natsuo had so much more disdain for Endeavor than the rest of the siblings. The Kyushu kid was shown to not believe the broadcast, but then Dabi started to expose Hawks by showing the video of him killing twice, and he told the public that Hawks also killed Best Jeanist. So yeah, this is also a big reveal. Didn't expect this to come. We just thought that he was going to drag down Endeavor here, but no, he's also taken Hawks down with him. We're also reliving the moment of Twice's death here, getting it from an angle that we didn't originally see in the manga. We only see it from like Twice's perspective, but now we're seeing like, you know, the feather blade going in the back. And if you're wondering like, how was this captured? Well, it did happen in the Liberation Army mansion. So we can just assume that Skeptic had that place wired up with a whole bunch of cameras and whatnot. So that makes sense. He also said that Hawks' father was a villain, serial killer, and robber, and Endeavor picked him up. In the broadcast, he also said that he cannot forgive Endeavor for being a person with such a dark background becoming a hero. So this is huge. Hawks' father was in fact a villain, and this was actually revealed back when Ending showed up, I think in like chapter 250. And this totally went over my head. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna be like, I've been playing 4D chess this whole time and I knew it. No, I glanced over this and I actually went back to chapter 250 and on, you know, recounting all of that stuff with Endeavor when I was going over my review last week, and I totally skipped over his first bit of dialogue where Ending says that, like, I first met you after you had captured the thief Takami, which is the same, you know, surname as Hawks, Keigo Takami. And that also lines up with Endeavor rescuing Hawks. I assume that maybe after he captured Hawks' dad, that's when he took in Hawks. So nice little connection here from Horikoshi. I'm liking it. And this also gives a lot more depth to Hawks, and you kind of understand why he's so willing to do what he does, because he does have this tragic backstory and, I don't know, maybe kind of inherits somewhat of his dad's disposition in a way. And it's also understandable why he was put into that hero program, because he's basically an orphan at that point, I suppose. We don't hear about his mom, but I assume she's out of the picture. So he didn't really have anything at that point. So all he really did have was going into that hero program, or an orphanage, I guess. Endeavor was too shocked to move, and Shoto was screaming at him to move back. He said he and Nejiri will handle Dabi. While Endeavor was still not moving and Shoto was still panicking, Dabi jumped off Makia with the prominence burn and said to Endeavor, "Thank you for being fine until today," but was caught with a wire in the last panel. We saw Best Jeanist appearing, saying that he will return to work starting today, end of chapter. So, first of all, Dabi using the prominence burn, pretty cool, but it is cut off by our boy Best Jeanist, and yeah, we've been talking about this for weeks. Kind of knew that Best Jeanist was coming back after we saw that silhouette of him in that hangar plane along with those carbon fiber things, and he's using them exactly as I speculated. We actually see them falling out of the plane and they're shooting down to the ground, you know, going after Makia, going after Dabi. So does this mean that this fight is over now? I certainly hope not. Probably not. I mean, I'm sure that will restrict the League of Villains and Makia somewhat, but if this just completely shuts everything down, then I guess the villains lose, they get captured, and the story's over? Probably not. But this is certainly going to move things back into the favor of the heroes, maybe even things out, but I don't think this is the end. I assume this is probably going to end with both parties going back to their respective corners, hopefully, and then we can go to a time skip or something like that. But I'll talk about this more tomorrow if we get the full scans with the translations, hopefully. But let me know what you think about these leaks in the comments, guys. If you liked the video, please give it a like. Also subscribe. Trying to reach 100K by the end of the year. I also have Patreon, Twitch. Check those out. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.